In the last 24 hours, the world has changed dramatically, with President Trump taking office and signing over 100 executive orders. This puts the policies of the world's largest economy, our most important strategic ally, at complete opposites to what we have here in Australia. Australia needs to quickly think about these things. We cannot continue down the track of having policies completely opposite to the USA. And let's just go through some of them. Firstly, there's the Paris Climate Accord that President Trump has pulled out of and exited out of completely.
The next item here is the withdrawal from the Paris Climate Treaty. Yes, sir. We're going to save over $1 trillion by withdrawing from that treaty. And the next item, sir, is a letter that will be transmitted to the United Nations explaining that we are withdrawing from the Paris Climate Treaty.
In contrast, we have here in Australia, this is something that the Liberal Party under Tony Abbott actually signed Australia up to. And of course, it's Labor policy. Both Liberal and Labor in this country are fully committed both to Paris targets and to net zero, as where President Trump is ripping them up. Pursuing Paris now for Australia is costly, it is futile, and it is pointless. You've got the same thing with the two world's largest economies are going hell for leather on fossil fuels, both the USA and China. Our policies now need a complete rethink. We in Australia also need to scrap that Paris target and abandon net zero if we are going to have industries that have any hope at all of competing against the USA and China. Secondly, there's Trump's policy on drill, baby, drill. Just listen to this as Trump sums up what the US policy now is.
That is why today I will also declare a national energy emergency. We will drill, baby, drill. America will be a manufacturing nation once again, and we have something that no other manufacturing nation will ever have, the largest amount of oil and gas of any country on earth, and we are going to use it. Let me use it. We will bring prices down, fill our strategic reserves up again, right to the top, and export American energy all over the world. We will be a rich nation again, and it is that liquid gold under our feet that will help to do it.
So President Trump has said we, that's the USA, have something that no other manufacturing nation will ever have, the largest amount of oil and gas of any country on earth. And we are going to use it. Now, compare that with the current situation in Australia, with both the Liberal and Labor Party signed up to Paris and to net zero. Yes, we don't have the oil that the US does, but we have very good quantities of coal. A comparison of the coal that we have, that black coal seam that runs down our eastern seaboard, pro rata or per capita, we have more coal resources than the USA. We also have much more uranium, about 20 times more uranium reserves than the USA. But yet here we have the major political parties in Australia saying Australians can't use that. This is complete insanity. And as Trump said, he said, we will be a rich nation again, and it will be that liquid gold under our feet that will do it. We need some leadership in this country that say, we're going to be a rich nation again, And it will be that black coal seam that runs down our eastern seaboard that will do it. But our political parties, our leaders, both Peter Dutton, who is Albanese's hopeless, are too frightened to say this. We've got to abandon this nonsense of net zero, get back to what this nation's strengths are. If the USA is going to drill, baby, drill, it is pointless Australia trying to lock up our coal reserves, thinking somehow or other this is going to have some magical effect on the weather. Same with China. China is drilling as much as they can. China with something like 100 new coal-fired power stations under construction. And here we are saying we have to close down our coal-fired power stations and we can't use the coal that is under our feet. What type of country are we? Thirdly, Trump said he will end all the EV mandates.
With my actions today, we will end the Green New Deal and we will revoke the electric vehicle mandate, saving our auto industry and keeping my sacred pledge to our great American auto workers. In other words, you'll be able to buy the car of your choice.
Now, what a difference again we have here between the Labor and Liberal Party and what President Trump is doing. We've been told with these EV mandates and these new so-called fuel efficiency regulations coming in that will put tens of thousands of dollars of fines and penalties upon new petrol and diesel cars, that we have to do this because everyone else in the world was doing similar things. Well, now President Trump is ripping up the EV mandates in the USA. So why should we go down this, again, pointless counterproductive policy of forcing EVs onto the market? And again, the policies of Australia are completely flawed. They won't lead to cheaper motoring. They won't reduce CO2 emissions. And they won't reduce costs. And they won't even reduce pollution. This EV policy we have is an insanity in Australia. And again, it's completely opposite to what the US has. President Trump has said very clearly, Americans should be able to buy the cars of their choice. Well, I say exactly the same thing in Australia. Australians should be able to buy the cars of their choice. There shouldn't be some onerous penalty regime that Chris Bowen has just brought in that's going to see some of the best loved cars in Australia have penalties and fines attached to them of $15,000 up to $20,000 on new cars. This is a nonsense. We need, again, Labor and Liberal are both joined on this. Liberals are not going to say they're going to repeal these so-called new fuel efficiency emission standards. Again, it's Labor and Liberal holding hands, and we have a policy completely opposite to the US. And the fourth one is, President Trump has been very clear that he's not going to build any more wind turbines.
And you know, you can talk about windmills. They litter our country. They're littered all over our country, like dropping paper, like dropping garbage in a field. And that's what happens to them, because in a period of time, they turn to garbage. Most expensive energy ever. They only work if you get subsidy. The only people that want them are the people that are getting rich off windmills, getting massive subsidies from the U.S. government. And it's the most expensive energy there is. It's many, many times more expensive than clean natural gas. So we're going to try and have a policy where no windmills are being built. You know, off the coast of New Jersey, they want to build like 200 windmills. The people are going crazy. Nobody wants them, and they're very expensive. They don't work without subsidy.
Because that makes sense. Wind turbines are a complete scam. Their intermittency makes them completely unsuitable for a large-scale grid. The costs of them, the environmental damage that they do. Especially these offshore wind turbines that Chris Bowen has been planned off the coast of Australia in whale migration zones, an economic and environmental disaster. So again, we are complete opposite direction of where President Trump is. So we've got the Liberal and Labor both pushing for wind turbines across the country. Labor want more of the offshore ones. Admittedly, the Liberals have voiced a little bit of objection to those. But again, we're heading in the complete opposite direction. And what an irony as well that today, when President Trump made that announcement, we also had a word coming through that the offshore wind farm off Wollongong, the company that was proposed to look at it and develop it, has pulled out. Just a complete and utter nonsense. Anyone that passed Lego in primary school realised that offshore wind farm off the coast of the Illawarra was a complete and utter nonsense. Imagine trying to build a wind turbine the size of Sydney Tower and have it floating off the coast there of Illawarra when the big southerlies get, and having it sort of like secured to the seabed with giant mooring cables in the middle of a whale migration zone where the water is over a kilometre deep. No wonder one of the companies pulled out to build it. Just a complete and utter nonsense. But yet, just another example of how the world has changed and Australia is completely in the opposite direction to the US. The fifth major point, where we're now in the complete opposite to the USA, is the World Health Organization. President Trump has announced today that he's going to pull the US out of the World Health Organization.
Withdrawing from the World Health Organization, sir?
Ooh, that's a big one.
Now, this is something I've been calling for since the 2022 election, when the World Health Organization has got these policies of these global pandemic treaties, where they want to give themselves all these extra powers to dictate to nations how we do things. The World Health Organization showed during the recent years that these people cannot be trusted. You wouldn't trust them as far as you could throw them. No wonder President Trump has pulled out. But yet here we are in Australia, where both major parties are committed to the World Health Organization. Then we've got number 6 on free speech. President Trump has made it very clear that the US government will no longer be in the censorship business.
If we don't have free speech, then we just don't have a free country. It's as simple as that. If this most fundamental right is allowed to perish, then the rest of our rights and liberties will topple, just like dominoes, one by one. They'll go down. That's why today I'm announcing my plan to shatter the left-wing censorship regime and to reclaim the right to free speech for all Americans. And reclaim is a very important word in this case because they've taken it away.
Now contrast that to Australia, where we've got the E-Safety Commissioner, who Peter Dutton is the number one fanboy of the E-Safety Commissioner, praising her in Parliament. We had the mis and disinformation bill. What a bullet that we dodged there, that Labor were pushing through. And remembering that was originally Liberal Party policy. Now, if Albanese wins the next election, he's likely to try and bring this mis and disinformation bill back. So again, you've got another area of policy, very important to the US, that we are in the complete opposite direction of. So we in Australia need to have a big think about the direction this country is heading. The world has changed dramatically in the last 24 hours. And who have we got over there in the USA to represent us? Good old lucky Kevin Rudd. Look, Kevin Rudd should do the right thing by the nation, and he should resign. He should come back to Australia, and Albanese should do the right thing by the country and recall him. We need an ambassador in the US that can be on the very best of terms with the US Trump's presidential team. And who have we got? We've got Rudd over there that abused President Trump, engaged in political name scoring and tried to make himself look this big tough guy by abusing President Trump when he thought President Trump couldn't win. And Trump's just going to treat Rudd like with disdain. So that's why Rudd, do the right thing, Kevin Rudd. Get out of there, give the job to someone else that can actually build a good relationship with the USA. Because in the uncertain world that we've got ahead of us, we need the best representation that this nation can get, someone that can actually have a close relationship with the Trump regime, someone that they can trust. And Kevin, on your past record, they would trust you as far as they could throw you.